Hi, welcome to 4.09 Financing a Business 1, starting with slide 1. Capital isn't scarce. Vision is. Sam Walton, founder of Walmart and Sam's Club. Every business starts with an idea, and some of these ideas come from young entrepreneurs. Many of today's most successful businesses were started by people in their teens and 20s. Microsoft was co-founded by Bill Gates when he was 20. Apple was co-founded by Steve Jobs when he was 21. Other examples of businesses started by young entrepreneurs with little more than an idea and a lot of hard work include Dell, Google, and Facebook. Unfortunately, it takes more than just a great idea and the determination to work hard to establish a successful company. It takes money to turn an idea into a functioning business. Whether just starting a business or expanding an existing one, entrepreneurs need capital, the money necessary to pay for business operations. Some people can afford to finance their own business without any outside help, but most entrepreneurs need to secure financing. There are various ways to finance a new business or get extra capital to expand an existing business. The first thing needed to make a business idea fly is adequate startup funds to cover the costs associated with the earliest stages of business development. These funds serve two purposes. First, there is the seed capital needed to pay for the initial research and planning. This money helps develop a product and a business model, and it provides for the initial market research. Second, there is the actual startup capital needed to pay for equipment, supplies, rent, wages, and other expenses associated with getting the business up and running. Shaking the money tree. So where do would-be entrepreneurs acquire these startup funds? They have to finance their business by raising capital. There are two different ways to raise capital. The first is debt financing. Debt financing is simply borrowing money from someone else. This can be done privately through relatives, friends, or a bank, or publicly by issuing bonds. The other road is equity financing. Equity financing involves selling a piece of the business and sharing its ownership with investors as either partners or stockholders. Loans. The first option most entrepreneurs consider is taking out a loan. People get loans all the time for all kinds of reasons. They borrow money to pay for school, a car, a house, and very often business. For new entrepreneurs, a loan is one of the most straightforward ways to get the necessary startup money. Banks, savings and loans institutions, commercial finance companies, credit unions, and the Small Business Administration, a federal agency that supports businesses, all provide loans for businesses. There are also many state and local government programs that encourage small business growth by providing loans. Like all loans, business loans vary by amount, term, interest rate, collateral requirements, and much more. Short-term loans, which usually have a term of 1 year or less, can be good for seed money, although they often have higher interest rates. Intermediate-term loans of 1 to 3 years, or long-term loans of 3 to 7 years, are good for many startup needs, such as buying equipment or property. Qualifying for a loan. Business loans are different from other loans. When a bank loans money to someone to buy a house, for instance, the bank can always take the house if the person defaults on the loan. The same is true for a car loan. But if a business fails, the bank will have very little debt to collect. Because of this, entrepreneurs must be able to convince a lender that their business is worth funding. Banks are generally conservative about whom they loan to and how much they give. Riskier loans will have higher interest rates. Getting a business loan from a bank requires a clear and convincing business model to demonstrate that the business has a good chance of success. A high personal credit rating also helps, as does a personal investment in the enterprise. If the lender sees that a person is investing some of his or her own money into the business, then the lender knows that the person has a real stake in the venture. Banks are generally reluctant to give out loans to businesses that are at the earliest, or seed, stage of development. They usually want to see that there's more than just an idea. If there is already some operating history and profitability to demonstrate to the lender, it is more likely that the loan will be approved. For these reasons, loans tend to be used as the financing option for more certain or established enterprises or for expanding businesses that are already profitable. Equity financing options. Because banks are generally reluctant to take big risks, entrepreneurs with some of the best ideas can find it difficult to obtain bank loans. A person might be willing to go into debt to give an idea a chance, but if no one else is willing to loan money, then he or she will probably have to take the road of equity financing. With equity financing, money is raised by selling a portion of ownership in the company. Equity financing is the route many entrepreneurs go if they have a big business concept, need a lot of money, or are in the early stages of business development. In general, equity financiers are willing to take greater risks than banks to support fledgling businesses. A common type of equity financing is known as venture capital. Venture capital generally comes from two sources: angel investors and venture capitalists. Angel investors are wealthy individual investors interested in helping promising startups in exchange for a share of ownership. Venture capitalists are firms or other groups of investors who manage a pool of investment funds and attempt to make a profit by buying all or part of new and existing businesses. Both angel investors and venture capitalists are capable of providing large sums of money in the hopes of making even more. Angels to the rescue. Angel investors are wealthy individuals who invest their own money, usually in new businesses, long before they go public. Often, angel investors are retired executives or business owners who want to expand their business connections. Although they are independent investors, most angel investors work with other angel investors to research and invest in companies together. There are about 225,000 active angel investors and more than 250 organized angel groups in the United States. To become an angel investor, an individual must qualify as an accredited investor under the SEC rules. There are many different categories of angel investors, but the basic requirement is a net worth of more than $1 million or an income of more than $200,000 for each of the past 2 years. Angel investors usually give most of their funds to very young businesses in the conceptual or seed stage. Typically, these companies are too speculative for bank loans. The rest of angel funds go to early stage enterprises in the startup phase. Often, angel investors focus on businesses they are familiar with. In the United States, angel investors contribute over $20 billion per year to help new companies develop. High-tech startups tend to get the largest portion of angel funds, receiving between 40 and 50% of the total. Angels have profit motive too. Angel investors typically demand a big return for their high risk. It's not uncommon for them to ask for 10 to 20 times the original investment to be returned at some point in the future. They bank on the business's profitability in the long run, and they want to help the business get there. To help ensure repayment of their investment money, angel investors generally want the owners to agree to a defined exit strategy. This is a method by which the investment will be cashed out with a different source of funding. Perhaps the company will get a loan from a bank once it is well established, or a bigger company will buy it out, or there will be different investors in the future who take the place of the angel. Whatever the exit strategy, the angels get their money back with a significant profit. Venture capitalists. Venture capitalists are another source of equity financing. Venture capital, or VC for short, differs slightly from angel capital. The main difference is that VCs invest on behalf of a group of investors, while angels invest for themselves. In other words, VCs are full-time financial professionals who invest from a large fund of other people's money. A typical VC fund has fewer than a dozen limited partners, although large VC funds can have as many as 50 partners. Mainly, the partners are institutional investors, such as pension funds, endowment funds, foundations, or corporations. Wealthy individuals can join a VC fund, but they're usually small contributors. Like angels, VC give fund to early-stage businesses. Unlike angels, they tend to steer away from contributing seed capital to businesses at the earliest and most risky stage of development, choosing instead to provide startup capital. They tend to fund operations over ideas. VCs do not limit themselves to early stage investments, however. They also give funds to help older businesses expand or get out of debt. What do VCs want? Like angel investors, VCs are looking for a high rate of return on their investment. They generally hope to get at least 10 times their initial investment in every deal. Also, like angel investors, VCs require a planned exit strategy. They usually realize their profits when the company is sold or goes public. Unlike angels, VCs want some say in how the company is run to ensure success. VCs usually fund companies in the high growth fields, technology, life sciences, and biotech, for example. Venture capital at work. Venture capital can help businesses grow by providing startup funds to get operations up and running. VCs can also provide capital to help more established businesses expand. Usually, venture capital consists of big bucks for companies with big operations. The late 1990s were a boom time for venture capital, as high-tech companies benefited from a huge surge in the internet and other computer technologies. Venture capitalists invest a total of some $30 billion per year, spread among more than 3,500 deals. Loans versus equity financing. Businesses that need or want money can either go into debt or sell a chunk of ownership. Why choose debt financing over equity financing? With a loan, the business retains full ownership of the company and does not have to satisfy investors. A loan is usually much cheaper than equity financing since only principal, interest, and fees must be paid. A loan is also usually faster to get than angel or venture capital. While the chances of getting a loan for seed capital are low without some guarantee, the chances of getting a loan are good if there's a positive operating history. By contrast, angels and VCs review thousands of investment opportunities each year and invest in only a small fraction of them. Why equity financing? Why choose equity financing over a loan? It is possible to get a loan. It is possible to get a lot more money via equity financing than going through a lender, and investors are typically more willing to fund risky, early-stage businesses. Most angel investors and VCs do not expect an immediate return during the first phase of the business. Instead, they bank on that business being profitable down the road. Also, investors are usually more interested in a company's growth potential than its current financial situation. Even with a shaky or minimum credit record, a compelling business idea with great growth potential can get equity financing. A question of funding. Startup money can come from loans, angel investors, or venture capitalists. Each of these forms of financing has different requirements and involves businesses and different types of commitments. Test your knowledge about the differences among various financing options. All right, we are going to end this recording on slide 15. The next one will start on slide 16. Please let me know if you have any questions or concerns.